it's Biddy Penny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have part 2 and we're just jumping right into this, you guys. Today's video, I'm making hardcover journals and books, and I'm going to show you 2 different ways to deal with the spines. I'm using this medium weight chipboard, but what I want you to know is that you could just use book covers for this too. Like if you had some old book covers, you could bind them in some of the ways that I'm showing you. So here I'm cutting down my covers, and I am going to go ahead and reinforce my spines only because this is a medium weight chipboard. It's probably at least 2 times as thick as like cereal board. But then because the spine is the integrity of the book, I just have to double it up. And this is like another heavy, almost a heavyweight chipboard that I'm gluing this onto. So these spines are extra sturdy. What I'm making here are really kind of like heirloom quality journals. So a lot of times here on my channel, I make really quick journals, easy journals that beginners can do. This tutorial is a little different. So this is like if you're really wanting to learn how to make hardcover journals and books from scratch. So now I have my spine doubled, I have my covers, and one way I'm going to cover these is actually I went to a yard sale this weekend and they packaged my stuff up in this paper bag, and I saved it. I am a junk journaler. And I am going to use this to cover my covers. And I'm only going to do one side. So I really just need to cut this paper bag down so that I have like an inch on all 4 sides. And that way I'll be able to fold the paper bag over and miter the corners. And so this first way that I'm showing you to do your hardcover book is if you have like 2 separate covers and you're wanting to connect them. Okay. So, I mean, the next way is too, but they're just done completely differently. But the funny thing about it is that you can get almost identical results. So basically, you know, there's a lot of ways to create journals and get similar results. So here I just folded those that excess paper bag over, and I mitered the corners, which all that means is I folded over and I cut out the square corners and cut in just a little bit on each one, and that's a mitered corner. They just lay well. This is what professional bookbinders do. In fact, the glue I'm using too, that I use in all of my videos, is Lineco PVA glue, which is a professional bookbinding glue. So that's what I'm using to glue all this down. I'm actually not using any double-sided tape today. I just didn't need it, and I'm actually low in stock of that. I decide instead of eyeballing this and trying to get it straight, why don't I just use my paper trimmer? So this here is going to be my inside of my cover. Again, I am using 2 kits from the paper Cameo. So in case you're just finding this video and you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'm using the Christmas Heart collection, which is HART, as well as the Let It Snow collection from the Image Cameo. What did I say? Yeah. So, and that's over on Etsy. I'll leave it all linked for you down below. And part 1, definitely check it out because that's when I put together all of my signatures. So in this video, I am showing y'all how to construct these covers as well as fully decorate them. I cannot wait for y'all to see this, and how I stitch the signatures in. Part 3 is just going to be ephemera and filling up and finishing out these journals. Okay, so now I'm gluing down this piece. I think this came from the Let It Snow collection. And I really just love this. It's like a faux book cover, which was perfect. It was part of the reason why I actually chose this kind of binding for these journals, because I really wanted to use this image. So this is my front cover, and then I will make my back cover. Now, this is how I'm going to connect these. I have a piece of Tyvek, which is from a priority mailer. I save those. I have family members save them for me, and I use them in instances like this because the Tyvek just makes it super strong. Now you can tell here I have switched glues. Now I'm using Fabri-Tac. I don't know. I can't tell a difference between the two. But I can. I like Fabri-Tac over Fabri-Fix if I have, when I go to repurchase. But I did try them both, and glue-wise, I think they do the same job. But working with them consistency-wise, I do like the Fabri-Tac slightly better. But I'm going to use what I have because that glue is not cheap. Okay, now this is very, very important. Anytime you are putting a spine with the covers, you have got to leave at least 1/8 of an inch separation between your spine and your covers. So see, this is what I'm using, this Tyvek to connect the spine to the covers. And it's imperative to make sure that you leave a space. You can see that white gap. I could have left even more, but it's perfect. 1/8 of an inch typically always works for me. Some people make like spacers for themselves, and that's how they do it, but I just eyeball it. I have these scraps left over from when I made the signatures, and I'm going to use them up. So in this case here, I am going to use this paper to cover that internal spine there on the inside of the book. It's definitely necessary, and so I'm doing hidden spines, okay? I'm not sewing my signatures into the spine of this book the way that a lot of junk journalers do, to where the string is exposed on the outside of the book. I wanted them done differently. Again, I really want this to feel like an heirloom quality journal. And so I chose to do a hidden spine. So you're going to see me kind of go about this in a very layered way. So now I'm covering the core of that book and the spine with this scrapbook paper. And then I'm using my score tool here and just kind of burnishing it down in those creases so it'll fold better later when it's dry. But you don't want to fold this until it is dry. Like, you want to glue this down and keep it flat until it's dry, and then you'll have fewer wrinkles and stuff. I'm sure you can see some wrinkles there in the Tyvek. I am not worried about it because I'm actually going to cover that with fabric. Okay, here is the second way that you can do this. So again, I have 2 separate covers and spines, and now I'm going to use this 12 by 12 paper. 2 sheets. I overlap it. I actually want the seam to be on the covers and not on the spine. This is a way that a lot of people build mini albums. So if you guys have seen a lot of mini albums, then you've probably seen this technique before. I am marking with a pencil where I want that piece to overlap on top of the other before I start gluing. And that way I just know what strip, like where to keep my glue and not go past it. I'm using Mod Podge to glue these pieces together, and I will be using Mod Podge to attach my chipboard to this cardstock as well. This is a pretty heavy cardstock. It is from Hobby Lobby. I mean, I got mine at the yard sale, but it's made by the Paper Studio, and yeah, so you can pick this up at Hobby Lobby. I really recommend having either 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 12 cardstock for journal covers like this. If this is something that, you know, you make a lot of mini albums or journal covers from scratch, it is really helpful. Okay, again, I'm going to kind of lay this out. I'm going to make sure that the seams, because see, I'm going to have a seam on each side of this paper. So I'm going to have a seam on the inside and on the outside. The first thing I'm going to do is glue down my spine, which was doubled. Again, this one was doubled as well so that it's extra sturdy. I mean, anytime you see books falling apart, when people give me broken books, it's the spine has lost its integrity every time. That's what it is. The covers don't matter as much as the spine. So anyways, that's why I doubled that. Plus, junk journals get chunky, so they're less likely to get bent in because they're usually alligator mouthing by the time you have everything in them. So I'm giving this all a generous coat of glue. I'm going to space this out again 1/8 of an inch between my front and back cover boards and the spine, and get this all glued down. Okay, once these are glued down, I'm going to trim my paper just so that, again, I have like at least 1 inch at a minimum around my journal cover. If there's more, that's fine. If there's less, that's fine. But I mean, when you have this much left over, you might as well play it safe and give yourself 1 inch or so of paper. I mean, why not? So I'm just going to give that a rough cut and trim that off what I don't need. And then I'm going to use my bone folder and kind of crease this and work it gently, bending it so that I can fold it over. This process is much like the process that you saw me doing with that paper bag. So I am just creasing this on all 4 sides. I will miter these corners. So I'm taking out that kind of corner square, working it at a slight angle, and just getting that off of there. And then I will glue this down. So this is a pretty detailed video, you guys, but I know that some of you, you know, you've been following along with me. You were card makers, and that's when you found me. And then I brought you over to junk journaling too. And I know a lot of you are trying it. You're making your first journals. And so I wanted to give you like a really comprehensive video if you want to make covers like this. I won't say that I did it perfectly or that my method is the right method. You know, a few times I was thinking, well, I could have done this differently, and you know, I would probably do this differently if I had it more planned out, but these journals just kind of came to life, if you will. They almost became like an obsession over, you know, a 3-4 day period of getting them made. Like I didn't want to stop. This is definitely 5 a.m. crafting. So all the footage that you see in part 1, 2, and 3 is me up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning getting my crafting on. And so, you know, I'm pretty bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but I'm not perfect. But I still think that this will give you a great jumping off point for learning how to build hardcovers for your journals. Okay, again, with the gluing. Now, I haven't pointed this out yet, but when I glued down my inside and outside covers, I glued them closer to the edge. So for this one, for example, I glued it closer to that left edge. I wasn't necessarily lining it up perfectly center because I knew I was going to have paper covering that spine and extending onto the cover side of things. So I did justify those a little bit closer to the edge on both the front and back cover because I just knew I would be bringing in paper and fabric, and I didn't want to compromise too much of my image and have an overly exposed edge. So here you'll see it as well. I'm just leaving a small edge on that left side and this right side that is basically the same kind of edge that I have from top to bottom. So it's all even to the eye, even though it's not centered to the board, to the book board. I think that makes sense. Okay, so there's my front and back cover. Now I will tell you that this like mini album way of building a journal cover, the spine is like tight and firm and sturdy, where the Tyvek has a little more movement to it. You can tell that the covers touch on the Tyvek version, and on this version they don't. Like that cover extends up even though they have the same size spine and everything. So I have these paper scraps that came in a kit recently, and I thought, well, let me use one of those. And it happened to be like pretty much perfect for this. So I am going to just have to trim just a tiny bit off of the side here, but it was already 8.5 high. I was like, oh, well, that's a perfect scrap. So I will use this to cover this inside. And I did go about these a couple of ways. So one of the ways is like with this one, I am gluing this down, and then I'm going to glue more on top of it. So I'm going to glue my paper directly on top of it. And on that paper, I did cover it with like Santa Clauses, because with the other one, I just put white down, and then I ended up having to cover the white. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. So with this one, I just put the white piece down. Now you can tell here, this is going to be a 2 signature journal. And so I did have to make my holes, and I do not know how I lost that footage, but I seem to have lost that footage. I had over 2 hours of footage to edit down for you guys. It was like 2.5 hours, so it got lost somewhere in there. But basically, I have, my holes lined up, and now I'm bringing in this extra piece, and I'm going to poke holes through this. So that top piece is my template, and now I have this basic white piece. And then I'm going to sew into this. So I'm showing you the sewing here, but I will tell you that it's best to start with your back signatures. So here I'm starting with my front signature, and that just makes this harder. I'm doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and I am putting in one of the envelopes from the kit in this first signature that will hide my twine. It'll hide my waxed thread. So it's just kind of fun. I don't do it very often, but I thought I would do it with this journal because this kit just came with these gorgeous envelopes and I wanted to use them. So I'm making sure that my signature is super tight, you guys. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. I do 2 knots the same way, 1 a different way, and then I'm honestly going to come in again and reinforce it with a dot of glue. And I'm going to let that dry before I fold it, but that is going to really help me make sure this twine does not come out. And it's going to be glued to the spine, so there's really no chance of this coming out. So what I was talking about earlier is with this one, I'm stitching these into this white paper. So I'm going to end up covering that white paper with more paper. But in the second journal, I covered that white piece, that template, with some scrapbook paper, so I didn't have to go in and add little strips. So for this one and the second signature, I'm just tying a bow. And I like a big bow for my internal pieces. Okay, so now you can see I have these onto this really heavyweight cardstock, by the way. This is like 110-pound, really thick cardstock. And now I'm going to get extremely glue happy, and I'm going to put glue all over this thing. And this is what's going to fix my book together. This is the binding of my book. So I'll get it lined up, and then make sure I'm burnishing it down on the sides. I'm going to burnish it in the center and really make sure this is secure in here and that everything is just smooth and flat and lovely. And then see, now I can come in again with scraps and just glue in some pieces to cover that white. You could leave the white, but I didn't want to. That's a pretty big gap. You might be wondering like why I'd have such a gap in this book, and that's because these books are designed to hold a lot. So I went with 2-inch spines, and they are designed to hold greeting cards. So, you know, when you get greeting cards at Christmas time, you'll have them up on your mantle, but then you would have a place to store them if you wanted, as well as journals. So the first signature is for journaling, and the second signature is a keepsake signature for holding your cards. So now I have both of these covers done. You can tell this one is just beautifully finished. You could put a piece of scrapbook paper on there and be done with it. You wouldn't have to mess with fabric and stuff like that, and it would be lovely. But that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, nay. I want to add fabric. So I have these upholstery samples, and I thought that this, you know, green and red are complementary colors. And I thought that that pastel red, which really is like pink, went lovely with this green and really gave the Christmas vibe. And so I was trying to pull away some of this paper, but it's really on there. And so I'm also going to trim off the pinking shear edge of these as well, because I don't have pinking shears that are the same like size. So I just went ahead and cut that off. I am making sure that this fabric is going to extend over and cover that Tyvek. So it's going to go over the front cover, across the spine, and back to the back cover. And I made sure it was even on both sides of the cover, the front and back cover, and it was great. So once I had it, you know, here I'm kind of marking it and again making sure it's even. And once I cut this down, then I will go ahead and use it to cut my second piece for my other journal. So, you know, that's one of the great things when you're mass making journals is like when you have to figure things out, you only have to figure it out once, and then you just keep doing things on repeat. So, you know, being that I'm making my journals the same size, I have a lot of control because I'm not using old books, but I'm actually made my covers from scratch, which gives me a lot of control over being able to mass produce and use these kind of tactics. If I had used book covers from old books, you know, they might be different sizes and I might have to keep refiguring things out. But if that's what you have, I certainly love junk journals with old book covers, but I guess this is just a pro for this type of journal making. I have some really beautiful old books on their way to me now, and I definitely will be using those covers in some of my upcoming books. I mean, they're just, irresistible. So I'm using my Fabric Fix here again, and I'm going to make sure that this is glued like it's nobody's business. I mean, it's all y'all's business. You're watching the video, but yeah, it's glued down. It's really going to be glued down. And you could tell this piece is short, but I wasn't worried about that. I'm making a junk journal. I can fix that. So I will just make sure this is really well adhered front and back. And I cannot wait to show you guys what I did with these spines next. They turn out super, super lovely. So once I have all this done, then I brought out my lace and trim. And I think most of this trim came from my friend Cheryl. Thanks, Cheryl, so much for your big box of trim you sent me. You're going to see me do this a lot, but now that I figured out what I want to do with my trim, I know I need two pieces of lace, one for this journal and one for the next journal. And the same thing with these, this gold trim. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Once I figure out what length I need of this, and I'm going to put 3 of these on each journal, then I'm just going to cut 6 at once. And this is the beauty of mass making. It really doesn't take that much more time to do these sort of things when you're making more than one journal. I don't know how some people, I think 5 or 6 journals is like my max. I do not know how some people make like 10 or 12 journals in a collection. That impresses me so much. I get tired of them after like doing things 6 times. I'm like, okay, next. But here again, I need 4 pieces of this white trim. And so I'm going ahead and cutting all 4 pieces at once. I hope you guys are doing so well today. Thank you for hanging out with me. I know this is like a super long video for my channel, but it's just necessary when I want to deliver quality content. I mean, I feel like I do. I feel like I deliver quality content, whether it's a long video or a short video. At least I try. But I wanted y'all to have like a comprehensive idea of how to make these kinds of journals. So I hope you're enjoying that. It's like a class, but it's free. Isn't that wonderful? Oh gosh, we all love YouTube for that, don't we? Okay, so now I'm using this Fabric Fix, or you can use Fabri-Tac or whatever glue you want, and I'm gluing these trims down. And here I'm going to use my Tim Holtz, what's it called? I can't remember now. Centering ruler. And so I'm going to center this ribbon or trim with using that ruler. Then I don't have to do math, you guys. The centering ruler keeps me from having to math too hard when I'm feeling creative. Thanks, Tim. So here we go. I've got now my 3 decorative bands. And I was thinking about this because used to old gorgeous books would have like decorative bands on their spines. And so that's where I kind of came up with this idea of adding these across here like this. I think it'd be so pretty to add like labels that say Christmas of 2023 or whatever, you know. I think that would be beautiful. It'd have to be a pretty fabulous label, but I think it would be beautiful. And then this trim really kind of cleans everything up. And I love how it pulls the cover together for me. It was just meant to be. It was just exactly what I thought these spines and these journals needed. So I'm going to glue a piece of that to the front and the back. I'm still here. I was just giving you guys a moment of silence from my voice. Oh my goodness. I don't know how all the fabulous ladies who make junk journals do it. Like, they can talk through their videos. I guess because they're not doing a voiceover, but they're just doing it while they craft. I've just never been able to do that and make that kind of video. I have a lot of interruptions. I have to come and go quite a bit from my craft room. So I've just never, I don't know. That's just not the kind of video I've ever been able to make. But it's impressive to me. I would tell you, it was a little daunting when I was like, oh gosh, I've got to record a 47-minute voiceover. What am I going to say to these people? These are my friends. I don't want to torture them. Okay, it is glued down, front and back. All right, I believe these tags are from the Let It Snow collection. Again, I only used 2 collections from the paper cameo. I said the image cameo earlier, and I knew it was wrong. I just couldn't think of what it was called. It's called the paper cameo. I picked 2 images that I wanted to pick for the covers. I know that the image on the cover of these journals is super precious, the girl with the tree, but it's just not what I wanted. So I changed it. I picked this tree for one journal that has, and I was making sure I had the right journal for the right cover image, but the tree one is going on a journal that has like these 2 people smiling, and one of them has a tree and the other one has holly in their hands. Okay, so I've got these tags and I pick out 2 Tim Holtz photos. And let me tell you, this is something I could not have done a year ago. I never could layer and cover up a bunch of, like a whole photo before. But I wanted the photo feel, and I wanted the photo peeking out. And I do wish the photos were peeking out more. I thought about it when I was editing, and I was like, I could have trimmed these tags down a little bit more, probably, so that we could see more of the photos. But we get the hint of them, and they feel like they're on a photo, and that makes me happy. But yeah, like a year ago, there's no way I could have covered up. I've been like, what's the point? Why do that? But the point is that I want it to feel like I've collaged on top of a photo. That's what I want. And so that's what I'm doing. As crazy as it may seem, I know. This came from the garage sale. It was $1. That Bow Bunny trim. You know I had to buy it. And then I have some other laces, and I'm just trying to figure out, because I definitely want some lace and trim on these. And I do like this really soft pink. And so I'm putting that with the mother, I definitely wanted this image. This is probably going to be the journal that I keep if I keep one. And so I just wanted that image. And then I wanted the tree for the journal that had the people with the tree. Okay, so there's my garage sale trim. Isn't that precious? It's from Bow Bunny. I think it's old. I have no idea. I love this embossed trim too. Like, this gave me such an idea. Like, can we spritz our ribbon with water and emboss it in our embossing machine? Can we do that? Is it possible? I want to try it. And then you'll see that tiny like silver leaf strip, this one that I'm touching right now. That was the part that I cut off that greeting card. And my video yesterday with the signatures, or Monday, whenever, part 1, let's just say that. Yeah, that's where that came from. It was still on my desk and I hadn't thrown it away yet. So I ended up using it and I love it. It's just a little hint of some vintage embossing off an old card, and that makes me happy. I distressed around the edges here. I'm even going to treat them with a little something else too. I'm also going to stress around the images, both the tree and the mother and child. Yes, I know what Christmas is about. That's what this image says. So now I really loved that writing on that photograph, so I wanted to keep that. So that's kind of how I'm deciding where to lay everything out. And I'm just going to glue this lace with just a little glue on that bottom edge, enough to keep it in place. I get such sticky fingers because I'm always just using my hands for everything. Probably if I used more tools, I wouldn't get such sticky fingers. I noticed that the Fabric Fix and the Fabri-Tac are the worst, though, when it comes to like getting goopiness and layers of glue on my hands. Those are the worst offenders. Okay, so now I have my paper layered here. I trim off my lace, and then I'm going to add my trim. So I decide to take this to my sewing machine and stitch it. And then I came back. This was a piece I had cut off of that green trim for the tree. And I decided to glue that on to this embossed piece. And it's almost done, but not quite yet. All right, moving on to the tree card. Again, I'm trying to save some of that photo as much as I possibly can. So I think this is how I will lay this one out. And I mean, isn't that like ruffle with a button just the most precious thing? I don't know. I love it so much. I'm going to add just enough trim to bridge those pieces of embossing from that piece of cut off card. And then I thought about adding the gold and was like, no, because I thought it took too much away from the tree. So then I thought about adding the bling and I was like, no. I mean, it's not bad. But no, I don't think that's it either. And then I remembered that I had some other embellishments in my stash, some other trim, and I'll end up bringing that in instead. Again, with the distressing of the edges. On both of these items. Again, a moment of silence for you guys. Y'all know I'm not the type to play music in my videos. And that's not because of any reason other than I used to play music in my videos and I keep getting copyright strikes. And I was like, then I would just delete the videos from my channel. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I work too hard on these. So that's why I never play music in my videos, because I don't want the copyright strikes and I don't want to delete my content. So I'll just give you moments of silence. I really thought about sewing that button on because I could tell it was glued on. And I tried and it got my needle so goopy that I just had to leave it. So what I did instead was I tied a bow with that gold embroidery floss and I just hot glue it on. And I was so lucky because the hot glue I had in my gun at the time was gold glitter. Sparkle Heart and I found gold glitter glue gun sticks, and we are hooked. We love it. See there? That gold. Oh, it's amazing. We made some really cool mermaid stuff for her Barbies with that. And yeah, we love it. We love the glitter gold glue stick. You can find them on Amazon. We bought a bulk bag of them because we're like, yeah, we'll be using these. Oh, my little Sparkle Heart. She is becoming quite the crafter, you guys. And it's hilarious because she's been making Barbie cards, like cards for her Barbies. And I'm like, girl, you are such a card maker, because she has made like 50 of them. And she's like, I'm not a card maker. I'm just assembling these. It's like, you're a card maker. You're even making envelopes. All right, so the final touch for these was this wax. This is from Prima, and it smells so good. There's another wax that I had gotten that was like rub-on, and it was inexpensive, and oh my gosh, it smelled so bad. I just couldn't use it. I didn't want to touch it. And then I got this Prima one, and it's just lovely. I even added that gilding wax to that embossed fabric, you guys. And that gave it such like an old world look to me. Could I stop there? No, I couldn't. I have these tiny 6mm jingle bells, and I decided that I wanted to make a little dangle for the front of this one. And so I add these jingle bells onto this ball pen, and I want to go back and add like a charm and some beads, but believe me, as much time as I've taken of yours today, I was feeling the same way. Like, I've just got to wrap this up. Just wrap it up. So I kind of kept it basic just to get it on there, but I do plan to go back and add a little more flair to these. But I just thought it was so cute to have a couple little jingle bells hanging from this. Did I ever tell you that these are going on the front covers of my books? I think I did. We're almost there, you guys. I'm just going to take these and glue them onto the covers, and I'm going to use a very healthy, generous amount of glue. I don't want it lifting on any of the corners. I don't want it coming up at all. And bye-bye, girly with the tree. You're precious, but this is what I needed on the covers of these books. All right, you guys, there is one more detail that I just absolutely had to have. So there's the guys with the tree, which is why I had to add this one to this book. But yeah, so like these books felt really good and almost done, but I really wanted like metal book corners on these as well. I scoured my craft room. I could not find any. I know the last time I used them, I was already getting low, and I was like, oh, I need to reorder these, and now I can't even find whatever I had left over. But the last time I was at the thrift store, I found these paper clips. Unlike anything I've ever seen before, I had to get them. And I'm going to use a large amount of tacky glue and wing it with a prayer that these stay on. But they're cool because they do bend over the edges, and I like them. I like them a lot. I paid $1 for this big box of them. I have never seen anything like these before. I love the crafty lady or gentleman, whoever decorated that box. You could tell they put like their own like paper on the box and picture. That was so cute. So anyways, I put a whole lot of tacky glue on these, and then I'm just going to pop that on that top corner and bend those two pieces over to the back. This is not the way they were intended to be used. Again, I'm just really hoping they hold. I think that they will. I do think that they will. It was so cool because these are like embossed metal, and some of them have crosses, some of them have like a North Star and scrolls. And so I was real intentional about them. And I put a North Star at the top corner there, and then I put a cross on the back top corner. And here are the journals, you guys. Oh, I love them so much. I love the mixture of gold and silver, the little jingle bells, this gorgeous spine. I mean, they're just so lovely. There's that North Star, and on the back, the cross. Isn't that great? That was just meant to be. And then a quick flip through, because I'm not done with these. I still have to come back and add the ephemera. I hope you guys will come back with me and watch as I make the ephemera and finish off these two journals. This is the card that I had cut off, that silver that I put on each of the front covers. But I love the way that they're coming together. So this front part is the journaling part, plenty of space, lots of journaling opportunity there. And then this back part is for holding cards. Now this card's super thick. And so I kind of struggled putting it in here, but I do think it'll work. It's a 5x7. It'll definitely work in all the other pockets. And if someone got a smaller card, or if they just wanted to trim off a tiny bit, they could definitely do that and stick these in here. Again, I think with more patience and less thickness, that card would go in there. These are just super thick card bases, and they're layered up a lot. But yeah, here's all the different pockets. So this is going to hold a lot of cards. Isn't that fun? What a fun keepsake. I just love this concept and the way it's all coming together. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, that you learned something new. And even if you didn't, if you were just feeling inspired by my combinations and the things that I made today, give me a like, comment, share. All those things help so much. I was so delighted when Tim Holtz was talking about how much it means to everyone to get a like, and it's so true. I didn't realize it either, about how much more exposure your channel gets, the more likes you get. So anytime you guys feel like it, I would love to get a thumbs up. Thank you for spending so much of your time here with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.